main topics are African history and politics and political science. He is currently spearheading the Johannesburg workshop on theory and criticism.
Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your panel. And we are here today to discuss poverty pornography, really a critical review of contemporary photographic practice in Africa. That's a broad title. Essentially, we wanted to get at multiple questions around the status of photography and image making in general. And so the questions that I put to the panel, and they will each take their time to discuss more or less their points, were: what stories are we telling and why? What is the relationship between funding sources and the photographer's lens? Is there a chicken and egg question with regard to where aid is going and the kinds of stories we tell? Are photographers going where the money is? How are we tracking the trajectory of our images? To what degree do we monitor our images and how they are used and by whom? What role does contemporary art practice play in deconstructing and therefore adding dimension to popular narratives? What role do institutions play in the maintenance of a static point of view? Is the lack of funding from museum institutions inhibiting the development of new ideas? Is this pushing artists to produce work in the commercial market? What are the associated benefits and risks? What is the demeanor of masculinity around photography? Is the female photographer's voice being heard? What role does photojournalism and social documentary teaching practices play in all of this? To what degree are we fetishizing the impoverished black body, i.e. othering ourselves? Have we found ourselves stuck in a trend of profiting from our suffering? What is the significance of the African show? Are black photographers or artists finding themselves in a ghetto? What role are exhibitions like the Bamako Biennial, Dakar Biennial, and all playing, if any, in the funneling of artists into these spaces? Why is the South African art market so segregated? Where are our black collectors? What steps are being taken to conscientize the aspiring class with regard to art practice? Are we being pessimistic or impatient? Has the tide of change already come? What role do continental African institutions play in the turning of this tide? And last, what positive trends are we seeing coming from Africa-based curators and arts administrators?
That's a lot.
That's quite a lot. And quite a lot, as I said, that we will hopefully be spreading over a few months with panel discussions. But to begin, I will hand over to Thembinkosi.
There's very little interest in making visible and known the experiences of black people in love and loving themselves in contemporary South Africa and Africa. The absence of black love is more evident in artistic representation that constitute contemporary visual arts, a disciplinary domain within humanity that concerns me in what follows. Even a sketchy overview of visual representation that feature black subjects in South African contemporary art is not necessary to qualify the invisibility of black love. I make this assertion in light of the fact that it is very rare to see depiction of black people engage in activities other than the overexploited directional representation that have not radically moved away from the stable dose associated with protest art, resistance art, township art, identity politics. Even in tourist or curio art, black subjects are either stereotyped or exoticized. Even both suffering and pain are common dominators that characterize this sort of artistic representation. It is disconcerting to observe their persistence from colonial apartheid to post-colonial apartheid, operating as a stable dose of negativity that dominates any knowledge and understanding about black people in contemporary worlds. Their hypervisibility and circulation feed into the excessive green view of Africa. The extremely popularized image of black subject always already situated on the brink of nothing other than inconsiderate pessimism. A fitting description of this bleak spectacle is Afro-pessimism. Such is a dark image that seems to make an impossibility of fathoming any other kind of understanding and imagination of Africa and its black subjects. Dominant representation of black subjects tend to be trapped within circumscribing and unreflective discourses, which the literary scholar and novelist Gule called the quintessence of obscene social exhibitions.
When I first started working at the Johannesburg Art Gallery, my notion of how museums were supposed to operate is that they did the research and formulated new ways of thinking about and displaying and disseminating information about artworks. In other words, their role was largely driven by knowledge production. I have since discovered that they are largely driven by survival, both in the sense of maintaining the physical infrastructure, but also in securing their place of relevance in the value chain of meaning production. But this is not to say that their role is less important than the commercial gallery or the auction house, at least in the minds of the people who populate the art industry. And I can add also to that the academy as well. Rather than produce exhibitions, most museums in South Africa tend to host exhibitions. And of the shows that they produce, very few have catalogs. So this is how museums tend to collude, firstly with commercial galleries, to simply post whatever is going at the time, and secondly, how they simply replicate through, though in a more nuanced manner, whatever information and knowledge is being put out by the commercial spaces. So museums have got little room to refuse exhibitions that they pay for whatever content is being brought. In other countries, the presence of independent spaces helps to mitigate against the dominance of the market and the collusion between knowledge producers and the commercial spaces. The role of criticality involves that there be people who have both the financial and the critical and mental capacity to do so. Part of those critical tools have got to do with simply being exposed to other forms of material, and in terms of both in terms of aesthetics and conceptually. In South Africa, the results of the total dominance of the documentary and commercial photography is apparent.
Work indeed, Carter's life compels us to ask critical questions about the images we create, receive and participate in. What do images demand of us? Can we create images that compel us to read beyond the frame, images that wobble the frame? Why are we so concerned by what goes on inside the frame? Could there be, to paraphrase the artist Robert Berry, perhaps something going on inside, or outside the frame that could be considered an artistic idea? I think since Khwezi mentioned Tshabangu, I would also include maybe more pointedly his work, the Black Photo Album, Look at Me, as in the trend of anti-photojournalism. So my interest is in finding creative spaces in which we can begin to critique the ways we make and receive images, thus my interest in the term anti-photojournalism. Other than the famous film by Belgian artist Renzo Martins, which was made in 2009, we have not yet begun to interrogate ourselves about the images we make and show to the world. Martin's film is titled Episode 3, Enjoy Poverty. It explores firsthand the political economy of images of conflict and poverty in the Democratic Republic of Congo and the complexities of humanitarian assistance. But I argue that the success of this film lies on the fact that it plays on Western liberal guilt, which is often found valuable to such critique. Also, the film illustrates a problem through the very problematics that it tries to draw attention upon. I think all of us involved in the business of image making and critique should imagine that we do have rubber stamps. That is, we are critical of the images we make and participate in. This way we can be in the business of creating emancipated spectators, to borrow from Vellissia, instead of passive viewers.
I'm trying to say that it might be a waste of time and a waste of energy for us to keep running after what has been said or is being said about us, to the point of forgetting what it is that we have to say about ourselves. And it seems to me that this applies to artistic and cultural production, or the critique of arts and culture in these times of ours. That we might run the risk of never being able to say anything of ours, because our physical, psychic, intellectual energies are caught in responding in a mimetic way to some discourse, some possessed discourse by another, who ends up getting us possessed by his or her own demons. So that's the first point I would like to make, insofar as it seems to me the critique of photography, and one could say the critique of literature, music, or other fields of human expressivity are concerned. The second point I would like to make has to do